I would like to preface this video with the following. Yeah, I just realized this top shows the tan bra. I normally wear a black bra under this. So what? I have very little time. I'm almost going to be home any minute, okay? I would like to preface this video with the following. My mom's at home, so I don't have to whisper. Okay? No matter what I am doing, thinking, no matter what somebody is doing to me, saying to me, anything, always in the back of my mind, going through my head at all times is absolute shock that I'm still breathing. Okay? I cannot even believe I'm still here. I cannot even believe the amount of shit and trauma that I went through over these last 4.5 years. We're not talking about when I'm a kid, okay? For those of you who say you have to get over your past, we're not talking about when I was a kid. That was hell in and of. We're not talking about that. We're talking about over the last 4.5 years. It's still fresh. It's still going on. It's still whatever, okay? It doesn't ever end, alright? Marion still has all this control over my mom. I'm still dealing with my mom's illness, although she's on 3 medications, daily cocktail, so it's keeping her from acting crazy, of course. So that's the first thing I would like to preface this with. Really preface every one of the 4,000 plus videos I've created. A lot of them are on private. Most of them are on private. That doesn't mean they don't exist. That doesn't mean I don't have them. That doesn't mean I can't put them elsewhere. I have the fucking money to do it. Okay? I can put them somewhere I can pay to have them. So they exist. They're safe, etc., etc., etc. Okay? I want to preface all of those videos, every video I've ever created for YouTube with, I can't believe I'm still here. Okay, every video I've created over this last, since Donald left me like garbage at the bottom of the hill, he shoved me backwards down, and I should have been dead then. I don't believe in God, at least not the Christian God or the organized religion God. And but if I did, I would say that there was a guardian angel, because I should be dead. I should be dead. And yet I'm here. So everything I do, think, say, feel, everything I'm always thinking about, I shouldn't even be here at all. Okay? I should be dead. Not because I was gonna, do the easy thing and take some pills or slice up my wrist or leap over a cliff. No. I've never intentionally planned, never been one to plan, But the things that have happened to me over the last 4.5 years, I shouldn't be here. Okay? I shouldn't be here. And yet here I am. And I can't even believe it. Okay? Can't believe it. So anyway, I'm going to give you examples of how I shouldn't even be here because of my mother. So that's number one. Number one, I shouldn't be here, yet here I am. Okay? Every waking moment I think about that. I'm sure it's common. I talked to this woman in the shelter who should have died from being brutally raped when she was a teenager, and beaten up and brutally raped and whatnot. And she was a famous case in the papers, yada yada whatever, a long time ago. And she says, yeah, and it's a surreal feeling when you know you shouldn't be alive, yet here you're still breathing. And not only am I still breathing, I'm 70 pounds thinner from November 4th, 2008, when I went flying backwards down that hill and thought, this is it. Never died from all the men I picked up or allowed me to pick up, went back to their place, went back to my place, never died from any of that, never died from walking alone late at night, never died from any of that, walking alone or whatever, back here in Massachusetts. Most of this, the picking up men and stuff didn't take place in California. In California, I was with Donald the entire time, and after that entire time, I wasn't going to pick up any men. I wasn't going to go back to that shit, and I'm still not, okay? Might play a little, but I'm not going to go back to what I was doing prior to Donald, being with Donald. But anyway, backwards down the hill, I'm like, that in the few seconds before I was smashed the bottom of my, you know, I didn't roll down the hill, I went a big 6 foot, nearly flying backwards, smashed the back of my head, lumped this big on the back of my head, woke up to 2 strangers, we saw the whole thing, let us call the police. No, I don't want to ruin his life. He wasn't even sorry when he got home, sobered up hours later. I had to take buses home an hour and a half with the lumps and the bruises and the shock, and didn't go to the hospital, and his mom, you know, I finally got home, and when he got home later, and he's like, I'm like, I could have called the cops. Go ahead. No remorse. Nothing. He's a sociopath, okay? He's a sociopath who I know, because I'm smart, doesn't even love his own mother, okay? Now, so I didn't die that night. Could have easily. Instead of going down that hill, it could have been over, like I told you before, in California. I mean, from what I've noticed around here in Massachusetts, I mean, not that I've been that many places in Massachusetts, but there's no low rail. Maybe there are some places, you know, but as far as I'm concerned, but places don't have the money. All those places should have high up things, so someone can't just be depressed and not even think and just leap over it, okay? But in California, they were everywhere. They would be this high. You could just crawl over them before someone could stop you, whatever, and you'd jump to your death, okay? They were everywhere. Could have gone over one of those when he shoved me without even thinking, but instead I went, there was a hill that led to a pavement, a store, and everything, bloop, and Laura is knocked unconscious briefly, wakes up to 2 strangers, the man she spent 7 years, 8 months of her life with, nowhere to be found, okay? Should have been dead then. That was November 4th, election night, the night Obama got elected, 2008, okay? Donald was into all political shit. And I'm sure he still is now that the restraining order has been lifted on him, because it was only for a year, but for that year I'm sure he couldn't do any of his political shit. He's a fucking sociopath. He professes to care about the world so much, it's just me that's a piece of shit in his eyes, okay? I deserve anything I get. According to him, not even that long ago, you know, you wouldn't have lasted 2 weeks with Chris Brown. He would have killed you, Laura. You know, no remorse, nothing to him. I'm just shit, and I deserve everything I get. Fine, whatever. Okay, should have been dead. That's number 1. Number 2. I am continuously affected by my mother's mental illness. Nobody in my family has ever lived with my mother on a day-to-fucking-day basis, okay? Only I have. Only me. And yet my family treats me as if the things I do or say or whatever should not be affected by my mother's mental illness. They know she's mentally ill, but they'll act like she's the most sanest person in the universe if it comes down to things that involve me. Perfect example was what happened in 2009, okay? She's a little kid. She was busy. She had been thrown in the mental hospital. Marion had thrown her back in the mental hospital, got her section. She'd been acting weird. Oh, another reason why I shouldn't be alive. My mother in 2009, I thought she was fine. She had just been released from this mental hospital a month before. She was supposed to be fine. From the moment I got here, she was acting nuts. Acting nuts. She was anxious, and I actually had to barricade this door because I needed to sleep, you know. In 2009, I had flown here. I needed to sleep. I needed to, and she wouldn't leave me alone. She would keep barging in the door, and she just was crazy. And I was escaping from that back there and coming to Mommy, and anyway, we would drive. 10 times I drove with her. I should have been dead. We'd be going the back roads where you're supposed to, there'd be signs that say slow down, curve ahead to 20. She would not slow down, and prior to that, because back roads, remember, she was going 50 miles an hour. She'd go 50 miles an hour around those curves. Should have been dead, should have been dead, should have been dead, okay? This all goes through my brain at all times. And the way my family treated me in 2009, including the aunt who's dying right now and is going to die probably very soon, even what she thinks so, okay, was sick. It was sick. Am I perfect? No. But you have to look at my imperfection in light of I was being abused for years by Donald, and over these last 4.5 years dealing with all of that and dealing with my mother's illness that reared its ugly head after it was gone for like 10, 12, 15, however long it was gone. It's all written in my journals. I know everything, just not every little thing off the top of my head, okay? Nobody in my family has dealt with my mother on a day-to-day basis like I have, like I did when I was a kid, like I did, and you know what I mean? Nobody has. Yet they sit there as judge, jury, and executioner. Don't get a mama's shirt. Now, perfect example. Okay? My mother winds up in a nut house, mental health facility, the same one that she had been released. This was in the summer of 2009, okay? She had just been released from it a month before, okay? So 4 months after Donald did that to me, my mother gets sick again, okay? And right around this time I started going crazy, probably just wishful thinking, believing that Chad Kroeger was in love with me, okay? And all little things fell into place that caused me to believe that, okay? Doesn't really matter. It happened. I can't change it any more than my mom could change anything, or anybody on this planet who's gone crazy can change anything they did, okay? And the fact is I lived in Hollywood. I didn't live in Idaho. I didn't live in Indiana or Kentucky. I lived in Hollywood. I mean, I lived in that area, and even if it wasn't plausible that Chad Kroeger and his posse had showed up at Spotlight Bar in Hollywood, it was feasible. And I later found out that that was in the beginning of May 2009. They were on hiatus from touring, which means it was it wasn't plausible, of course, but it was feasible. It was possible, even though it wasn't plausible. Get it? So all this weird shit happened, and I believe that they came there incognito, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Alright? It was possible because I was living in Hollywood. I wasn't living like in Kentucky or India. You know what I mean? The stars do go to those bars. They could have gone there incognito. Doesn't mean they did. Just like Chad Kroeger could have seen me on Alicia's World in 2001. I had fans across the world. Okay? I was very popular. And not just because this body, 12 years younger, I was stripping and down to my panties and bra, but because I would talk to people and I was real and I would write on my message board and my EarthCam TV News and all this crap. Okay? In 2009, my mother winds up sectioned back into the same mental hospital. What happened was she got into a fight with her weird friends, her crazy friends, okay? And she called Marion for help, and Marion just called the cops, and my mom's sectioned, and I'm here. And remember, Marion's my sworn enemy. Marion didn't want me here. Marion wants to have all the control of my mom. Marion would periodically say to my mom, because she would tell me, my mom would tell me, you know, Marion tries to put a wedge in between me and my mother. It's you know, think the rest of the family knows or cares about that? No. So my mom gets put in the mental hospital, okay? Now, I had gotten permission to stay. I had gone out with the aunt who was dying and her daughters the night before. I was supposed to leave. But they said, I said, why don't I just stay until my mom gets out, okay? But I've already said this in a whole minute to other videos. Marion came over and started, you know, the next day, what the fuck are you still doing in your mom's house, blah, 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 because she has power, she can just come in and you know, and it doesn't matter. In the end, my family totally turned against me, led, of course, by Queen Marion at the helm, as usual, spreading her lies, her venom, her half-truths, her not knowing. My mom, this is what the family doesn't know, because I got a little letter from Auntie who has cancer now, you know, your mother, you know, your mother loves you, but she wants you out of her house, blah, blah. This is what happened. My mom would call me if I couldn't jump immediately. Like, she wants me to go visit her in the mental hospital. Mom, I can't do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. Okay? It's not easy. It's trains and buses. It's far away, blah, blah, blah. I'll do it. I'm not going to do it. And because she was a child and wanted what she wanted right then, she would be telling me, I want you to stay in my house until I get out. She'd be telling the aunt who has cancer and the other whatever, I want her out of my house. See? Mental illness. Crazy. Yet I'm condemned because they're just going to take the word of a mentally ill woman and not realize she's telling me one thing and them something else. Okay? So I got pissed off. I was already pissed that I reached out to that INACCESSIBLE cancer when Marion came over and was screaming and yelling at me after the INACCESSIBLE cancer didn't have it at the time, of course, and her daughters. We had gone out, had a wonderful time. I had asked permission. I had even said, do you think Marion will mind if